Hey, what's up? This is KP Kawan Prather. Check out my heavy talk.
Pleasure to talk to you today. I've only known about you for most of my life, as a person to study music. So to be able to speak with the one and only Kawan KP Prather is incredible. You started off in parental advisory, PA, a group, and you've gone on to
hmm
touch like the largest artist of my time. How has 2020 been treating you music wise?
With the exception of just missing people and interaction, actually it's made it a lot more efficient in a lot of ways
Hmm.
with time and management. Because realistically, I think I've gotten a lot done
Yeah.
in shorter periods of times because it's not the travel time. It's not the time where you go hang out for 3 or 4 hours just to make sure you're seen.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I think it minimized everything to a point where, okay, what are the priorities and what are the necessities?
Hmm.
And those things don't require as much as, I think we've put on it. So it's actually been cool for me. Like on an only child, I'm cool with this vibe.
Yeah, it has forced us to be way more intentional. So you're a DJ, you're a music exec, you are an A&R.
hmm
What does an A&R, because we have a heavy crew here, and basically these are people that are doing, business. They're just starting out. They want to understand a little bit more about what everything is that the music business holds. They want to
hmm
get acclimated and understand more about the business. So speak to what an A&R actually does in this day and age.
I think the role is still the same. The tools are different, and I think the prerequisite for doing it is different. In a technology based world, everybody's connected.
Mhm.
So that used to be the one of the main jobs of an A&R was to connect people, artists, and labels, managers, producers to make sure that everybody who was dope was connected and understood how to get to each other, right? And the idea was to make great music from it. So that part, I think, is the connecting part is still the same, but it's just more people saying that they do it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think like everything else in the internet space, you just have to do an extra careful vetting process when you're dealing with people because it's like everybody got a title on IG.
You're absolutely correct. And I like to ask that question because everybody has a title, people lose the understanding of it's like I know a lot of artists and I put this person in the studio with that person, so I'm an A&R. Okay.
That's not true.
Do you understand how to navigate the building and how to work with other departments to make sure that the flow of the project is being released? Do you
Yeah.
understand how to communicate with
Can
engineers?
you and marketing and the thing is I think because the functions of a label have changed so much and even kind of the necessity for them in a lot of situations they're different. But the A&R process, when at its truest form, is like it's about development. It's about cultivating and nurturing a vision and an idea and bringing it to fruition, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that role is still necessary. Like I still do it. I do it differently now,
Yeah.
and because in this free spirit world of it, I can also DJ. I can also do a bunch of other things that that keep me in cool spaces
Yeah.
without having to overextend my stay in a club. You know what I mean? It's like I don't as a grown up I don't want to be sitting in the club if I don't have to, but as a DJ it helps me to just stay in pocket
Yeah.
and stay aware. But and the funny thing is, and I'll say this, and this has nothing to do with your question, but it's weird
Okay.
because as a DJ there are a lot of people who only know me as a DJ now. So I
Wow.
get yeah, so I'm getting reintroduced to music industry of now through younger kids and younger A&Rs and people who I like to listen to talk like the justices of the world over at Love Renaissance and and Courtney over at Left Hand. It's
Mhm.
like it. I mean, I'm the right hand. I'm sorry.
Right. Mhm.
Right hand. I'm tripping. Like yeah, but I was but it's like now I get to watch it from a different space and kind of coach and implore information on people who are doing it properly now
Mhm.
because like I was saying earlier, in the internet space of it, you have a lot of people who say they do this, right? But I think people, if you step back and stop looking at the titles and the flash of it and start looking at the work that people do, it'll be a lot easier to find the right teams of people, because it's like people aren't going for character, they're going for almost a caricature, like who looks like an A&R.
You're absolutely right about that. And I think that's so interesting that you say that, going back to you being a DJ and people only knowing you as a DJ. I think you start off as an artist, honestly. So you're naturally a creative. And I think it's super cool when you just kind of fall into your creativeness and remember that that's what you actually are, because it allows you to see it from a different vantage point. You know what I mean? Like, you're seeing
Yeah,
artists
yeah.
differently. You're being able to experience them differently than them coming to you,
Mhm.
asking you to get them signed. Now they may be asking
Yeah.
you to play their record, but again, it's a different
And
interaction.
it's earlier for me. It's like I like, from a DJ standpoint, it helps me on getting to artists earlier, even in the independent space, right? Like, and it's not like I'm out really trying to sign a bunch of people, but it's really what I've kind of taken upon myself is to, get to people early with good information before those people with the bad information swoop in when
Yeah.
they start getting hot.
Hmm.
And and just kind of helping build artists that can sustain through eras and through periods, not just like a hot record. Because I think that, if anything, I think that's my goal, if not my I guess the consistent thing in the artists that I've dealt with, that they've been able to maintain, you know, over a long period of time.
Clearly. That's obvious because you started. Are you still operating Ghetto Vision? I know you're doing a million things.
Um, yeah, Ghetto Vision is always home base. It's the place where, like I'm doing, right, creating TV shows. Like it's my brain trust. It's like the mothership of it, I guess.
Like, you're holding.
Um, but I also am head of music at iamOTHER with Pharrell. So it's just a bunch going on. Like it's kind of weird because I was looking at your drop thing and said your title, and I was like, man, I don't even know. Um,
I believe.
I could say head of music at iamOTHER. That's cool. I could say DJ. I just like being creative and being around creative people, and I would like to change my title to inspirer to creatives.
That's what it is.
So
That's
yeah.
exactly what it is. I mean, and I feel like out of all that you've done, it's hard for you to say that you're just one thing, because then we're minimizing your impact in the other areas that have been so monumental. When I think about the YouTube ball earlier this year, I was thinking about this as I was
Oh yeah.
preparing, and that was kind of like the last thing we really did before quarantine, honestly.
Yeah, before it shut down. Yeah.
Yeah, but that was great though to me, because you just think about the compiling of all of the people that were in the room coming to Atlanta, Atlanta as a home base for music, and then thinking about you, and you've been a part of seeing, we're honoring LA, we're honoring Babyface, but we're seeing you've been a part of this from day one. And now to see Atlanta where it is now, to be able to say that you're just one thing, I think would, be doing you a disservice. But I wanted to ask you, how did you feel being in that room and seeing all those
Mm.
people? And I know that when it comes down to a certain group of people getting together in Atlanta, people do have to go through you. So how was that for you? How was that for you to see that, to know that, like, when you were going through the motions and working on all these projects and signing people, T.I., and working with Usher and TLC, did you know that you were making history? Like, did it feel big for you?
No, it didn't feel like big at all. Because again, like the beauty of Atlanta is, if you're from Atlanta, it's all regular.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the things and the people that you're dealing with, you just see in, these are people we grew up with, and it was pre-famous.
Mm-hmm.
So we all kind of grew into it together. So it wasn't it was gradual. It didn't it's again, I think that's another part of it. Like we were able to grow into the comfortability of the impact that we were doing. So it wasn't so over the top for us, and we didn't think we were too important doing it because everybody around us was dope. And I don't even know if we called it dope or not. It's just like we knew that we
It was tight.
respected this person, No, I'm just saying, like, you saw, you could appreciate somebody else's dopeness in their creative, in their style. You know, if you knew Divine Stevens, and you understood how fly he was at talent shows dancing, it makes sense that he would turn into this choreographer who understood how to put artists in show mode. If I was a DJ making mixtapes for those dance groups and talent shows, so it's like understanding how to put a show together it's kind of like a prerequisite for me. Like, I got to know how to intro it, I got to know how to transition it, I got to do a lot in it. So before there's a music industry, that was just us trying to be fly.
Right.
So those same rules apply in entertaining, and we were able to get good mentors and people who had enough information to give it to us, like A&R'd, Babyface, and Pebbles, and those people poured into us. Like, okay, what y'all are doing is dope, and it could be lucrative, because I didn't know what A&R was prior to Pebbles telling me that I should do it. But that was her coming to the studio, seeing us as a unit running our projects, right? When we were making Outkast's first album and PA's first album, well, actually PA's first album, Organized Noise produced it. It was still the same crew of people hanging at the studio, but my kind of awareness for the room as a DJ, almost like, because I'm like, who's not moving, who's in it, like, what's the vibe? That helped me understand how to move certain people into certain spaces. Like, hey man, why don't you put that verse on this song? That would be dope. And just because I remembered it, those things kind of helped. And Pebbles was like, yo, what you're doing it's like a job.
So you didn't even know
Like that. No, 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 not at all.
how you can get paid for that.
No, I mean, why would we? There was no music industry in Atlanta. This is like 1990-ish.
Wow.
So, they were Pebbles and A&R'd, Babyface were the music industry to us.
And then from there, we have grown to where it's known, home of the indie labels. How would you compare
Yeah.
the year 2000, where there is, DTP and Grand Hustle and So Def? How would you compare that to 2020? Because it's still kind of similar. What are your thoughts on
Yeah,
it?
I mean, because of how LaFace kind of branched out and how it empowered a lot of different producers and crews in Atlanta,
Mm-hmm.
it kind of set up for the idea of like that, the pyramid of it almost. Like, if I'm on, let me put somebody on, they're gonna put somebody else on, and it keeps building, right? So if I get this situation with LaFace, I Ghetto Vision, I see Ti and Jason and these guys. Like, let me give them their shot and help them get their space. Like, basically, it's almost like running block. Like, it's like, once you get in, you got to know how to run block for the next person coming behind you. And I think it's the natural progression of what it is in Atlanta. Like, and it's still, honestly, when I watch it, it's the same blueprint that
Yeah.
I watched from LaFace. And it's, yeah, it makes you proud, because it's like we've learn how to cultivate our culture in a way that we actually benefit from it. Like we learned it for real, and now we apply it and putting it in practice. You see the execution of it, right?
Yeah.
So you look from LaFace to QC, and it's like, yeah, like, it makes sense.
Do you feel like there's a ceiling here as it
Um,
pertains to
hmm,
talent executives? Because as much
I,
as Atlanta's the talent pool, we
hmm,
do know that the home of music, music base is not in this
business,
city, right? The
yeah.
business is in this city. So do you feel like there is a ceiling there, or is there more room for you to grow?
It's room. It's absolutely, it's room to grow as a hub, right? Like, again, this is 1990 when LaFace pretty much started popping. Like, it's 30 years, right? So from that, you got all these different, like, satellite labels, right?
Mhm.
It's only going to take, for now that people have been successful enough to not be scared of losing it, to now get together and create that infrastructure. Like, what Tyler Perry did for his studio, right? We
Incredible.
could have done that in music, at any point, like in Atlanta, since TLC. But you got 20-year-old kids competing with each other. It's like, we weren't grown. Like, we were trying to be popping.
Yeah.
So now that we've grown to this place where, oh, this is a business, and now we see, looking at hindsight, how we could have done things. All we got to do now is just put those systems in place so that the next groups coming up not only make more money like they're doing now, but they have long enough careers to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Because it's cool to get the bag real quick, but I'm looking at 2020 as like a almost like a filtering system for artists who are serious, like who
Absolutely.
can make it past the hustle. Because the it's almost like the irony and the grand hustle part. Like people aren't paying attention to the grand part. Like what makes that hustle works is there's some really dope shit in it. Like it's some high level, entertaining art in it. And so much of a lot I want to say a lot of success has been one song here, a producer gets a hot beat here, and it's not like cultivating a lot of careers. So it's like you get excited when you see Lil Baby because it's like, man, he stands for what we like and he's growing.
Hmm.
Like that's
You feel a vibe.
you want to just yeah, yeah, and that's those are those things. It's like we want to I think in Atlanta we have to figure out how to now grow past ego.
Oh, you're
Oh,
absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Once we learn that, I think we can all work more cohesively and really become like force certain things to happen in this particular city because again, the talent is here. So you've been working with, I want to make sure I touch on iamOTHER because
mhm.
it's huge and you guys are doing a lot of things. And I want to see, when did you start working with Pharrell? When did the iamOTHER connection like seal the deal for you?
I was working at Atlantic, which is funny because I went back to Atlantic because Tip was doing his last album there. And they asked me to come in to do A&R,
Mhm.
and I was like, okay, cool. And I thought it was gonna be like a consulting thing, and I ended up working there, and I ended up enjoying it. There were people there who I liked. There were artists who I liked. There were artists and executives who I respect. What I'm saying? It was a cool spot, right? But this one situation I had me and Pharrell, this was during the period of Pharrell's not necessarily he wasn't hot Pharrell. It was almost like under normal music industry terms, it might be the fall off, right? This
Mm.
is before Blurred Lines, before Happy, before what was the third one? The Daft Punk record. It was like the years in between that, right?
Mhm.
And there was questions of how dope he was. I'm like, I know the dude, he just dope. Like, just let's get him in with the right people. And we put him in with, we got him to work with CeeLo. He did. We recorded Happy on CeeLo and brought it back. And the consensus from the people I worked with was like, it just wasn't a good record. And I was like, oh, all right, cool. And cool. But then, moving forward, there's this soundtrack that
Mhm.
Pharrell wanted to just put CeeLo on that, and they were like, "Nah." I was like, "Man, you should just do it yourself on some random shit, like not like on some A&R shit, but on
Yeah,
some
yeah.
friend shit. Like, man, don't like, man, stop, like, don't let nobody drag you, bro. Just do it." And again, he was in a place where he wasn't trying to be an artist. He was really trying to produce and get you know that straight. Song came out, deal to did, blue, and CeeLo goes on the radio and says that used to be his song. And someone said they had never heard it at the company. I went back and was like, you did. You like, you know what? This isn't the place for me because it was just a trust thing. I'm just
Yeah.
also like I just gotta believe that we got my back type shit. And it wasn't that. So I left and I hit Pharrell and I called him. So I'm like, yeah, I just left. He was like, good. Come on over.
Waiting on that.
And that was it. That was it. It was that.
Wow.
It was that. It was just like the following the gut of the intuition of it's like when shit feels wrong, it's probably wrong. And it doesn't say anything about either side of the label or me, right? It's what that isn't what I'm comfortable in. Because I didn't necessarily do big things at Atlantic. Like, we signed Cap, hired rigs, probably we did some stuff. Okay, we did some stuff, but it wasn't as big as LaFace.
Yeah.
And what I recognized in everything that I did from LaFace, Columbia, Def Jam, Atlantic, all those things were based on when it was successful, it was based on a small group of people. All the projects that worked, it wasn't about the companies that I was at. It was about the small core group of people who were moving the day to day of it. Like when we think about Tip, it wasn't Arista, it wasn't Atlantic. It was Jason, Tip, and I'll take some space in it, but it was those two understanding to keep working every day, right? And every weekend, Tip getting on the road and going to small cities, planting seeds, and understanding. Like, I think that part we were cool and understanding strategy. Like, and if you build it from here and let it spread out, all inside of it is yours, as opposed to trying to go to New York, go to LA, go to Midwest, and leave and have no presence. You can't even get back there if you need to. Like, but everything that was done was based on a core group of people going and really touching another core group of people. And then those bigger labels came and added to the, amplified the fire.
Yeah.
And now I think Atlanta's figured that out in the indie side. Now it's like, if we take the money that we're making and the know-how we're doing that and put it together, we could actually have something that we wouldn't need to go outside of Atlanta to go ask for somebody to understand what we're doing.
At its core, the relationships, like you built relationships, CeeLo, Pharrell, whomever, your ground floor relationships are what you knew to, to stick to,
Rely on.
stand by, to rely on. And you knew that those were the ones. And generally on that side, and that's no knock to majors, but on that side, that's where the hustle is going to be a little bit stronger. Because you got something to prove. And I think you get in that ground floor level experience and let me put my feet on the floor and just, go to it and work and not worry about anything else. I think that ultimately is the experience that you end up leaning back to. It's like, I know how to roll my sleeves up and get to work. Like I don't have to rely on a builder.
Listen, when I got I think people talk about like the dope stuff all the time, right? But like I got fired from Columbia Records.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I got fired from Columbia Records when I signed John Legend. He was hot. I had a bunch of records that were like Omarion was doing well. It was really like I was doing well for what my job was.
Mm-hmm.
But I got fired. When I got fired, I didn't think about it. It didn't do anything to me. Like, I was just like, okay, let me go back to work. So we went, got Yellow Wolf, got on the road and really started developing him. Like, with just all the tools and the things I've learned over time. Got that to a point where it was working, got a deal, we were making money. But I was out there on the road passing out flyers. We were on the road putting the stage together. Like, all the jobs that I've done up until that point came to a place where I was able to use them and be a proper leader in a situation because I understood the fundamentals of it, right? I think that's the part that the internet takes away from a lot of people. They don't have to learn anything to get to the next step. You can say you're doing it and people will believe it because you got followers and you look like you do it.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is they end up breaking down over time because they don't have all the tools.
Yeah. And there's a skill to that. There's a skill to presenting, certain
The hustle.
Yeah, that there is, but you got to be able to follow through on it. You have
Yeah,
to.
and then that's when you have to, or you have to understand that that's how you end up with a mascot as a president, as opposed to somebody who you've looked, you watch grow into a position where they can handle the responsibility of everything that you put them in charge of, just because you like their TV show.
Because they're famous, they're popular, and you're
a
just
fan.
popular. Exactly, fanhood.
Yeah.
That was a word. That was a word. So with iamOTHER, are you guys looking for more artists? Are you looking for more production? What is the goal there, if anyone's curious?
The goal right now is to find what the next normal is first, to figure out how we can be of service to artists. Because what we've done in the pandemic so far is we did a collaboration with SoundCloud called SC times iamOTHER, where we found artists who were on SoundCloud, independent artists, and gave them extra light, right? Gave them some marketing budgets, gave them some promotion, like did things that we know from a record company standpoint work for artists when they're really dope, right? And that's working. Like, they want us to do. We're gonna do another a volume 2. We're gonna do a volume 2, and people are getting signed. People are getting found. It's like, and not that I think getting signed is the point, but the attention is there. Like, so if they want to get signed, they can. But then there are other artists who I like that I'm watching on there. They're just doing their thing because they understand that this was a boost
Mhm.
And if they take this and not try to jump for this first check, especially in a period of time where you don't know what the next moves are going to
Yeah.
be and what you need to be doing business wise, like you might not want to get wrapped up in too much because that thing might not even be necessary in 6 months. So it's cool watching artists benefit, like just from, like, I guess that's a part of our goodwill in right now. Like, so I think we're focusing on trying to get out of this space in a healthy way.
Hey, that's all you can do. And I think it's really cool. Again, going back to working with indie artists, finding them on SoundCloud. That's just, there's so much talent over there at SoundCloud. I know a lot of people put their
It's
emphasis on
crazy.
DSPs, but that one has a lot of talent. I think it's really cool that you guys are taking the time to comb through and see what's popping over there.
It was a lot too, by the way.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And because, again, it's like, and the thing that I found out that I didn't know in doing this with SoundCloud was that I didn't know they weren't a DSP. They're really just like a hub for like people to post. It's still like a community. Like, so when we did this, we were able to put the compilation up on Apple, on Tidal, on Spotify. So all these artists are in play for real. And one of the records is playlisted like in about 4 or 5 playlists. This record called Couch, which is one of my favorites. Well, I guess they're all my favorites. Out of the 30,000 we had, those 10
30,000.
are my favorites.
Wow.
Yeah, it's great. But but it's cool to watch people connect with it. That's dope.
Super dope. And, again, as we try to figure out our new normal, music is also changing too. This is the last question I'm going to ask you. We have lived through so many eras of music, styles of music, trends. So, we don't know what the next trend is going to be in music, but I'm looking forward to seeing. Do you have any particular style that you're loving right now?
I'm loving it. It's singer-songwriters right now because everybody's stuck at home, so you're only getting products from people who can create by themselves
Yeah.
or under smaller circumstance. So it's almost like I like the lo-fi, like this is just talent space that's happening right now
Yeah. It's a vibe.
because it's like, yeah, it's a vibe, and it's like pure. You have to just really love it to really invest in it because right now people, you're not giving away your time that frivolous right now. Like, it's like your time and your money right now are different, and where you might have taken some extra time in the gym to let a song play that you don't necessarily agree with.
Mhm.
Now you're hearing all the words now.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's just a lot more tuned in. So
Yeah.
I'm loving the songwriter space right now.
I'm waiting to see what all this turns into, but I know it's
Right.
gonna be pretty cool. Well, thank you, KP.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you for,
Yeah.
again, taking the time. It's so many more questions I could have asked. Maybe we'll do a part two one day. But
Hey
I'm
man,
really
one day.
appreciative to have seen you in action working. When I was an intern, you were around at the time, working with Tip at the time, and, from Atlantic to Columbia, all of those things. I've been able to see you in action and see how passionate you are and how hands-on you've been with your artists, and just to see like the history of what you've been able to accomplish. I think it's really, really gratifying, and I'm
Well,
honored
I
to have
appreciate it.
spoken to you today.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you for taking the time. Hopefully something came out of it that somebody can do something with.